Well, hello everyone. Alejandro Tornato here, coming directly from Beaufort, Georgia. And I am not alone. I am with my dear friend and colleague, Makisher Whetstone. So let me just be the first one to say good morning, Makisher. How are you? How are you navigating the current situation? I mean, you are the kind of person, I mean, I can see you smiling all the time, and you are in high spirits, but how is Makisher been so far up until this very moment?
I have been doing well because I have continued with business as usual. So if I need to go to the grocery store, I go to the grocery store. If I need to meet with a business partner one on one, I go to Barnes and Noble because they still allow you to go into Barnes and Noble in the cafe and meet with someone. I'm utilizing Zoom a lot more, of course, to meet with clients. So it's been business as usual for me, meaning if I need to go take care of something, I go take care of something. I don't have cabin fever yet because I still make sure I get out and I do some things because after a few days, I would be going stir crazy if I was in the house all day, every day. But I've been doing well with it and just trying my best to take the necessary precautions. So that's why I have my water right here so I can drink on that throughout the day as I work and through the day. But it's been going well. I've had a busy morning thus far. How are you doing and how has your morning been?
It's been going absolutely fantastic. Now, since you show that, then I'm gonna show this. I have my bottle of water. Okay. Now
Good.
this is not rum. This is not vodka. This is just plain water. Okay. You have to keep
I'm glad you
hydrated.
have only plain water.
That's right. Hydration. The secret to the eternal youth is begin with hydration, and
Yes.
also, woohoo,
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizer. I tell you, hand sanitizer. As Makisher said, um, we are going through challenging times. I mean, these are not normal times, and but even going through challenging times, your life, uh, you cannot let your life become chaotic. You cannot
Right.
let your life become an out of control, no hope, no nothing kind of life. No, life continues, and
Yes.
and we have to keep navigating these challenging times, because remember one thing. I mean, as I said it many times, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a person who loves to predict the future, because I don't know the future. The future is always uncertain, is the unknown. But there's one thing that I can say with absolute certainty, and is the fact that this situation is not going to last forever. It
Right.
is there's going to be We are going through a cycle.
Yes.
I don't know where we are on that cycle, on that curve, whether we are on the peak, whether we are halfway up, whether we are on the bottom. I don't know. But there is one thing that I know for sure, is there's going to be a time that we are going to end this, and we are
Right.
going to look back. And the one thing that I encourage everyone, and this is not part of the lesson that we're teaching now. One thing that I encourage you is, when this is all over, then look back and see what are the lessons
Absolutely.
that you learned,
Yep.
because I think that this is a great time to immerse yourself into doing things that perhaps you don't normally do.
Right.
because you have other activities. But now, because we are keeping ourselves and the social distancing and just staying at home, then we have time to, let's say, read, to grow, to we are speaker coaches and trainers, so to create new content, to see what other things we're doing. So when we look back, then we say, well, how much have I grown through this time? What have I done? What are the lessons that I learned? And I think that if we do that, is going to make a positive impact in your life, and through you in the life of many others. What?
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. And going back to something you just said a moment ago, Alejandro, one of the things me and some of my peers and business partners talk about, and we talked about it on our call this morning, because every morning from 7 to 7:10 we have a motivational call, and we talked about, what are you doing with the time you have? What are you doing to build your business? What are you doing to make sure things are better for your clients? Yeah. And part of that is making sure you're honing your craft, reading books, developing, let's say, like for us, as a coach or a consultant, are you creating new content? What are you actually doing to make sure you're staying as sharp as you can be so you can best serve your clients? Make sure you're reading, make sure you're watching videos, whatever that is to help you grow so you come out better, and you're better once this is over. That is what you should be doing right now. And for me, nothing has stopped, nothing has slowed down, because I wasn't going to a traditional brick and mortar 9 to 5. So I haven't felt the crunch of things stopping for me. But for those who are working from home, or those who aren't working right now because the employer doesn't have work from home opportunities, this is the time to look at other business opportunities, additional streams of income, to make sure you're learning, making sure you're growing, so that way you can be competitive when things like this happen, and you may have to market yourself for a whole new career or a whole new occupation. So I really think this is the time for everyone to make sure they're doing everything possible to be prepared for what's going to come after this, because like you said, it's not going to last forever. It is going to end. Yeah. But what we do with this time right now can make a difference for our future.
Oh, excellent. And just for the people who are watching us now, or the ones that are catching the replay, you might be wondering, but today is Friday.
Yes.
And if we have been following, these two human beings, they usually connect in this page, Live Without Limits, on a Thursday evening at 7 p.m. So what happened yesterday? Well, there was a little bit of a conflict in the scheduling and so forth. So Makisha and myself, we decided to say, we had two options. There's always two options. The first option is to say, okay, well, we couldn't do it on a Thursday. Forget about it. We come back the next week. And that, my friends, is the easy option to take. And Makisha and myself, we know that sometimes is not the easy option that pays the greatest dividends. Yes. It is the if we committed, to doing this, if we had to miss a Thursday, then let's try to not miss the whole week. So that's why we are here, because we wanted to get this lesson shared with you. And for those of you who have not been following us, for the past couple of weeks, we embarked in a mini-series on the book The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and we already covered the first two. And what was the first agreement, Makisha?
I don't know what was the first agreement. What was the first agreement?
The first agreement was be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. And I know, Makisha, that from that moment forward, you have been an example of word impeccability.
Yes, we talk about that quite a bit. And I have to tell our audience, our community, if you haven't learned by now, I love to tease Alejandro and I love to give him a hard time because we talked about impeccable words for a while that particular day. And so when we were preparing for that, I was like, oh, I really like this because it's so important to think about your words. And I was talking about, I have a workshop that is titled The Power of Your Words. Yeah. And so just then when I said, I don't know what the first one was, I was giving him a hard time because that was one of my favorite ones of the four because words are so powerful and it makes such a difference in what we put into the atmosphere and the energy we bring by our words. Yeah. So that is so important for us and to make sure, we're paying attention to having those impeccable words come out of our mouth. We should make sure we're paying attention to what we are saying so we're not tearing ourselves down. We're not tearing others down. And we want to make sure we're bringing the right energy to whatever situation we're in.
That's right. There is a lesson by Paul Martinelli. Is called The Power of I Am. And those are the two most powerful words, I guess, in any language. Because what follows those two words will determine basically your entire life. I mean, if you say, I am the greatest. Well, I mean, look at the example of the great boxer of all times, Muhammad Ali. I mean, what did he used to say all the time? And people used to say, he's proud and they mocked him and so forth. But guess what? He became the greatest of all time. Why? Yes. Because he saw himself and he said to himself and he broadcasted to the whole world what? I am the greatest. I am the greatest. And he truly believed that he was the greatest. And guess what? He was the greatest. Yes. No doubt about that.
Yep.
So I'm going to say right now, I am a genius. I am a genius. Now you can mock me, you can say whatever. I am crazy. No, I am not. I am a genius. And not only that, but I dare you to say that every single day because you are a genius too. And you have great potential inside of you. And you have greatness inside of you. So don't minimize and don't diminish that potential. Just broadcast it because the more that you do, the more you are going to believe in that story. And that is going to be truth for you. So,
and Alejandro, but that's why it's also so important to make sure you only have people in your space who use impeccable words. Yeah. Because you don't want to have individuals in your space who do not support lifting you up, who do not support your dreams, support your goals, who isn't there to give you words of encouragement.
That's right.
And you have to also remember agreement number 2 about not taking everything so personally.
That's
because
exactly right.
That is true as well. There are times when people may say something or we feel offended or we think someone means something in particular, and we have to take a step back sometime and make sure we're not taking things so personally as well. And all of that works together for us to be the best we can be so we can be the greatest. So we will be, so we walk in those things which we are speaking, because there are times when you have to speak things as though they already are, although they haven't manifested themselves yet. So you are a genius. You are the greatest. Whatever you wake up and you tell yourself each day, believe it.
That's
Don't
right.
just speak it, believe it internally in your spirit and start walking in that so you can see the manifestation of it. And then it takes us to step 3 today. Don't make assumptions.
Oh,
So yeah, so we're going to talk about that today as well.
and I love that. Yes, that's the third agreement. And don't make assumptions. Now, let me ask a rhetorical question to all our viewers. Now, what kind of a person are you? Are you the kind of a person who takes the necessary steps to find the truth on a particular story? Or are you the kind of person who it's a little bit lazy and don't want to do the work and begins to assume things? I encourage you not to get into that assumption habit, because the more that you do it, it will become a habit. And you see, I'm just going to read a little bit of an excerpt here. It says, humans have the tendency to make assumptions about everything.
Yep.
Yeah? And there are so many things that the mind cannot explain. I mean, so many things that we don't have explanations for. And we have all these questions to which we need answers. But instead of asking the right questions, if we don't know something, then the easy way is to start making all kinds and all sorts of assumptions. So just because we have, and we do have, a very vivid and a very active and a very powerful imagination, I mean, don't rely on that, even as powerful as it is, to start making assumptions. Because let us be truthful about it. Most of the time, I would say 95 or even more % of the time, the assumptions that we make are not right.
Right.
They are not right. And so why making assumptions rather than finding the truth? And one area that making assumptions, Makisha, is it can be very, very dangerous, is when we make assumptions in a relationship. You see, I mean, you are with your significant other, with your partner, with your husband, with your wife, and then just because you think that you know that person, that and you know how they think, you make an assumption of what they're thinking, of what they're going to do next, and that is cause for a lot of misunderstandings, for a lot of fighting, for a lot of upsetting in that relationship, just because instead of asking questions and finding what the other person is actually thinking, then you instinctively make the assumption, and then that trips you. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, that's an important area where assumptions should not be employed, isn't it?
Yes, you are correct, especially in a marriage or a relationship with a significant other, because that can create so much chaos, and it can create unnecessary problems. Because when you're making an assumption about what someone else is thinking or what their next steps will be or their actions will be next, it can create a problem, because you may be all the way over here to the right and they are all the way over to the left, and you're not meeting in the middle. And so your assumptions are so wrong that other person is looking at you like you are crazy and you have 5 heads, because they're like, what are you talking about? I was not going to say that, not going to do that. And it's so important to communicate effectively, it's so important to make sure we are communicating in a way for us to seek understanding. And unfortunately, in many relationships, we do not communicate to seek understanding. We communicate to get our point across.
Ah.
The other person is talking, we're not always listening effectively so we can have an understanding and make the relationship or the situation better. We are sitting there, we're hurt, we're working, we are hoping that the person will hurry up and finish saying what they're saying because we want to get our point across. That is not effective communication, and that is not the way we should make sure we are not making those assumptions. Effective communication includes not making assumptions.
Oh, yeah.
So should not do that because it does create problems, whether you're at church, whether you're at work, in your personal life, in your girlfriend relationships, guy friend relationships. It doesn't matter. Assumptions get us into trouble when all we have to do is ask questions. People hate to have tough conversations, Alejandro, and there are times when you have to have tough conversation so the relationship can get better and so it can move forward because you're learning how to communicate effectively without the assumptions.
That's exactly right, and I think that is, I mean, of course, we are. Whether you are in a position of leadership in your work, but we are leaders. All of us are leaders because we have to lead one person, and that is yourself. You have to be a leader of you. And John Maxwell has a book which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, if you have not read it, I mean, I encourage you to pick up a copy and read it. And it's about the importance of questions. And he says the title is Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. Good leaders ask great questions because that, I mean, you cannot underestimate the power of asking questions. Asking questions rather than assuming the answer. Ask the question and you're going to get the truthful answer. And most of the time you're going to see that does not equate with the assumption that you have made. So yes, that is one characteristic of great leadership, is not assuming that people are going to follow instinctively. No, ask questions, interact with people, get the right story as opposed of you creating your own story through assumption, through assuming.
Alejandro, that goes back to characteristics of a great coach as well, because a great coach asks a lot of questions. And that is how you make sure you get a client to start really thinking and engaging in their own success journey. Is because you want to ask great questions. You don't make assumptions while you're coaching them. So that is another area where it is so important to ask great questions.
You just, I mean, you hit that target right on the bullseye, because that is one of the great when a coach, a real coach, because there's a lot of people, I mean, who under the umbrella of coaching, I mean, they do all kinds of things. I mean, they mentor and they counsel and they do, and that's not what coaching is about. But coaching, yes, when you come alongside another individual and just by asking questions, probing questions, deep questions that elicit that individual to really go deep into himself or herself, to really dig out the answer to that question, that work is what helps the individual to grow, helps the individual, the client, to get into a higher and a clearer level of awareness for themselves, for their life, for the goals that they want to achieve, the pathway that they need to walk in order to get to that goal, the dreams that they have and they want to accomplish. So everything becomes clear just by the simple action of asking questions. I mean, it's just, I think it must have been a couple of years, maybe 3 years ago, I was listening to a video by a human behavior scientist. I mean, it's Dr. John DeMartini. And John DeMartini said in this interview, it says, questions, I mean, the level of your life and the quality of a person's life is directly related and connected to the quality of the questions you ask. And that stuck with me because that is incredibly important. Is, do you want your life, the quality of your life, to be high? Then don't ask stupid questions or silly questions or superficial questions. Ask questions of quality, and your life will rise to that quality. If you want, on the other hand, if you want a very shallow quality of life, then ask shallow questions. And what do I mean by shallow questions? I mean, if you spend most of your time with an individual asking about the weather, I mean, well, do you like sunny days? Do you like rainy days? Do you like to eat French fries? Do you like to eat? I mean, now I'm not saying that those questions are not important, but those questions, if you stay only with those kinds of questions, you will not start connecting with another person. So begin asking questions that really matter, questions that will establish a bond and a relationship and a connection. And by all means, together with that, don't make assumptions. Just try to get to the right story.
Yeah, I don't know sometimes if individuals feel as though they may be somewhat shallow in their conversations, because typically in most situations you're a product of your environment. And so if everyone around you is having the type of conversations you're having, and if no one, for lack of a better word, challenges you to think on a different level or have a conversation on a different level, you don't even have the self-awareness to know that your conversation could go to another level. So that's another reason why I think it's important for us to surround ourselves around individuals who can challenge us to go to the next level, whatever that is for that individual.
Yes.
Because if we don't, it's easy to stay stagnant and to not grow. But we should also not make assumptions that everyone has the ability to be where we are. Because there are times when we do one of two things. We will assume someone will never get there, or we assume someone can rise to where we are. Yeah. And you should never make the assumption that someone will always stay where they are and always be who they are. But sometimes you have to also not make the assumption that someone can automatically rise up to a certain standard, because there are certain emotional as well as intellectual limitations that occur sometimes, but you can still always raise someone up higher than where they are at that present time. So I think we have to be careful about assumptions on both sides and just make sure we are there to encourage and have those impeccable words, make sure we're not taking things so personally and we're not making assumptions, and we are having effective communication so all of us involved can rise up to a higher calling for what we're called to do and to be. And I think all of those together are important for us to grow and be better human beings.
Oh, yes.
Along with better entrepreneurs, especially if we are coaches, teachers, and trainers as well.
Sure. Oh, definitely. Now, there are some whys we should avoid making assumptions. The first one is that they are an easy way out. Okay, so there's a reason why we shouldn't be making assumptions, is because they're an easy way out. And sometimes when we take the easy way out, we end up in a place we didn't want to go. Yep. Okay, so remember that. Never take the easy road, because the easy road takes you most likely to the ditch. Take the hard road, because the hard road is, as John Maxwell would say, everything worthwhile is uphill. Everything worthwhile is uphill. And when you go uphill, it requires effort. Now, the second why we should avoid making assumptions is because they stop a person from taking responsibility for your life. You see, they stop you. Assumptions allow you to hide behind your own version of the story. So assumptions is like a way that you can quickly go in order to hide, as opposed to there's no reason for hiding. If you are pursuing the truth and through questions and through conversation you want the truth, then there's no place for hiding. It is when you're making an assumption, you're trying to look for a place where you can just stick there and then hide. Why? Because perhaps unconsciously you know that the assumption that you made is not the right one. But you didn't want... Yeah.
No, go ahead, Alejandro.
No, because you didn't want to take the time to really seek the real story, as opposed to you creating your own story.
And I think it's important to know how to ask the questions, because sometimes I think individuals do not ask the right questions because they feel like they don't know how to. So they take that easy route. And so you have to, because I personally and you find it to be easy. But I think individuals have to understand when you know you need to get to the root of something, you just have to say, hey, Makisha, I would like for us to talk about such and such. And I'm not quite sure how to tackle it or how to get to what it is I want to say, but can we just sit down and have a conversation about it? So what it does is it allows you to take some of that pressure off of you from trying to be so perfect about it. Yeah. You're acknowledging, you know what, I'm not 100% sure how to approach it, but I want us to sit down and have a conversation. So when you are trying to figure out how to have that conversation, just simply say, you know what, Alejandro, I'm not really sure how to approach this, but I know I need to talk about this with you. So can we sit down and talk about so I can open up to you and share what is in my heart,
That's
what
right.
I'm feeling and what I'm thinking. So that way you don't have to be a pro at it, but you have some tools to help you start navigating through that process so you can have those conversations that need to be had instead of making those assumptions.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you said it very clearly, and that is true. And I'm gonna say it once again. I said it so many times, and I will never get tired of saying it and admitting it. And for all of you, I mean, who are watching, one of the reasons that we really, I mean, with Makisha, I mean, we have that synchronicity is because that ability that we have, I mean, to be able, I mean, to talk to the other person in a very openly, in a very transparent, in a very vulnerable kind of a way, and up until today, neither Makisha nor myself, we have assumed or have made any assumptions on the other person. I
Right.
mean, of course, we are always in an active process
Yes.
of getting to know the other person.
Right.
But in that getting to know the other person, the worst thing that we could ever do is make an assumption on, well, I mean, we are not going to do that because I think that Makisha, I mean, won't like it, or Maki. No, no, no. I mean, rather than assuming that, let me just go and ask her. And Makisha is a witness that, like a couple of days ago, I talked to her in the morning, I guess, and so we had a conversation, and then in the afternoon, I thought of an idea, and in my own mind, I said, do I want to call her again? I mean, what is she going to think? I mean, that my goodness, that I'm a pest. I mean, we talked this morning, and then he's gonna call me again. So I texted her because I thought that a text would be a smoother kind of a way
Yes. Yes.
into her psyche, you know. And then I said, "Hey, Makisha, I just had an idea come to my awareness, and I would like to share it with you. Can I call you right now?" And then she responded and says, "I'll call you when I finish a conference call. I mean, that she
Yep.
was on."
Yep.
And then she called me, and then we talked. But you see, rather than assuming something, then you took the action, and then we communicated.
Yes.
And I'm so happy that she still thinks that I am not a pest. And I thank you so very much. I mean, you are you are an incredible. The more that I get to know this lady, uh, it, it, the more that I have a great love and appreciation for who she is. I mean, it's really, when you find someone that you can actually um, do things and make a difference. What a real blessing that is, without any kind of assumptions.
I know, but you're right because you and I do that. We do that. I think we do it well, where we will have a conversation because I will say, okay, Alejandro, tell me what you think about this. And sometimes I would say, that's exactly what I thought you would say, but I didn't want to make an assumption. So we always make sure we talk through it, whether you call or text me. I do the same with you. because we had an agreement up front, and that is we would always make sure we don't BS one another, and we would have open, honest, transparent conversations.
Yeah.
And we do. And even when it's something as simple as getting onto Skype and having technical difficulties on my end, you still exercise the patience of Job, although you think I'm crazy for not seeing on my screen what you're seeing. But you never make an assumption like, I don't think Makisha knows what she's doing over there. You still ask questions and you take me through the process. And that is something that makes a difference when you have a colleague, when you're in a relationship, a friendship. It doesn't matter how you know the person. You have to make sure you're not making assumptions, have effective communication, even when, because I know, when I'm getting frustrated sometimes, and you will still have the patience of Job, and you will still take me from step 1 to step 5. But that's because we've had that agreement. We talked about it. Don't make assumptions or assume that the person may just know automatically because you said, well, Makisha, what about such and such? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, Alejandro. And you ask the question, well, do you see the apple? Okay, click on that. Instead of assuming that I automatically knew to go to the apple to look for the next step. And it's things as simple as that can take relationships off the rail for a moment when there is no reason to, when all you have to do is ask a question.
That's right. And I tell you one thing, Makisha. At one point in my life, I was not that way. And I was getting very impatient with people. I was expressing my feelings to people, and that really got me into a lot, and I'm saying a lot, of embarrassing doo-doos, okay? I mean, because I was interacting with people, and people were actually taking my patience off the charts. I mean, and I became very, very impatient. And not only that, but I would say, if I would have known you years ago, I would say, Makisha, I mean, you are a dummy. I mean, can you get this to work? I mean, how on earth? I mean, and going blah, 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 all the rest. Now, what do you think that would have done to the relationship? Well, I tell you what that would have done. We wouldn't be doing this right now anymore. That's right. Because Makisha would have said, hey, listen, buddy, I mean, I had enough. Go your way. I'm going my way. Thank you very much. Have a great life. And so you learn. And it's not that you learn, but the things that you learn, if you begin implementing it and applying it into your life. So be impeccable with your word. Begin paying attention to the words that you speak, because words have power. Okay? Do it. Then don't take things personally. Don't leave on your surface, on your skin, okay? Anything that anybody says, no, just chill out. I mean, just listen to it and then process that yourself. Now, today's lesson, don't make assumptions. And just, don't make assumptions. If you're a person who has been in the habit of making assumptions, then guess what? Today, you are coming out of that dark tunnel, and the light has been shown on you. And from today, moving forward, no more assumptions, my friends. No more assumptions. And guess what? Next week, we are coming to the last of the 4 agreements. And that's going to be another juicy one. And that is always do your best.
Yes.
Always do your best. Now, I know, Makisha, that you are a person who, under any kind of circumstance, you do and you thrive to do your best. In my situation, I try and to really do my very best, because you know what happens. There are some people that, and we are going to talk about that next week, but they come to the bottom of a mountain and they begin to climb the mountain. And you know what the definition of the word mediocrity is? Mediocrity is just getting to halfway up the mountain and give up. Go halfway and then it says, oh, it's too difficult, then I'm going to come right back down. When this agreement says always do your best, is go to the mountain, begin climbing, go halfway up, and still be rejoiced that you have another halfway to get to the top. And you're going to do that. You're going to get to the top because you are going to do your best every single time. No excuses, no buts, no nothing. Do your best. But that is not a lesson for today. That is a lesson for next week. And so I am so glad that we had this time. You know, every Thursday or every Friday or every time that I come and I can spend these few moments not only with you on the other side of the camera, but with this wonderful individual that I have next to me virtually. We are exercising social distancing, so but it's so great. I love your smile, I love your spirit, I love your wisdom and your knowledge and the way that you have always such a great and a loving attitude, Makisha. You are a great partner. You are a great individual, and I thank you so very much.
I will pay you later, Alejandro.
In $100 bills, please. Okay,
oh,
I don't.
You would love that. Yes. But it's likewise, we just, like you said earlier, we just synchronize so well together. And I enjoy our time together. I look forward to us having our Facebook Lives. And one of the things Alejandro and I wanted to share is that we are going to do more of this. We're going to be on more often. We have to figure out our schedules and figure out how to coordinate it. But we're actually going to be on Live Without Limits more often so we can share more content, and also so you guys can just get to know us as real people. Everything won't always be so content heavy, because I want you to get to know me as Makisha, because some of you may not follow me on my Facebook page, The Power of One Life Coach. I am a coach over there. Well, I'm a coach every day, but that's my page. And then plus Alejandro has his page. And what's the name of your page, Alejandro, on Facebook?
Transformational Mentoring with Alejandro Tornato. You can find me there. I typically do Facebook Lives. I love, as you can see, I am not fearful of the camera. I just love the camera, and it's a great way to connect with people. But Makisha said something that is really, really important. I heard it so many times. It really matters who we learn from. it really matters who we learn from, because I mean, in social media there are so many people. I mean, they're great teachers, they're
Yeah.
excellent teachers,
Yeah.
but they are a lot of the other kind of teachers, you know. So it really matters who you learn from, and we are so glad that you are with us, and we are going to we are not going to wing it. I mean, we are going to come prepared, and prepared to give you the very best that we can share with all of you. But at the same time, not everything is content heavy, as Makisher pointed out, and connectivity with a tribe and connectivity with a community is not only through teaching and through sharing lessons and so forth, but is sharing our life, sharing
Yeah.
who we are as human beings, with all our strengths and with all our weaknesses. And one of the things that we were thinking is just to pop in maybe for a kind of a 10-15 minutes, and then say, okay, what's been happening with you? I mean, what happened to you? I mean, do you have a story? I mean, to share. I mean, what did you eat last night? I mean, did you cook? I mean, did you go out? I mean, I tell you one thing. I have been. Well, I'm not going to tell you that story, because I will when we do this little drop ins, and we share about us. But we wanted to share our being transparent to all of you, okay? Because that is another way, a very powerful way to connect with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And there's no details yet, because we have to work out the schedules of when we want to do that. But we'll definitely let you know. I mean, we'll keep you posted. We'll keep you updated. And from my perspective, it's always great to connect and to spend these few moments with all of you. I love you all. Keep navigating these challenging times, and as Makisher said before, take precaution, but still keep living without limits. And you wanted to say something, Makisher?
Yes, because I wanted to remind everyone, I just looked at my calendar to make sure I give the correct date. Everyone, if you have been following us, you know Alejandra and I were having our workshop on May 2nd. But due to our current environment and situation, we have extended it. We have moved the date from May 2nd to Saturday, June 13th. So we will update that information on Facebook, and we will also update it in Eventbrite, because we don't know how long this thing may last. And so there are some speculations that we will definitely be possibly going through April. So that means we will not have individuals who are probably looking to do something in May. So we're moving it out to June, so we can allow all of this to work itself out and have more time for us to see where we're going to be. And if we have to change the date again, we will. But right now, the date has changed from May 2nd for our in-person workshop to Saturday, June 13th. So I just wanted to let everyone know that, and just know that we'll be updating our social media page and Eventbrite shortly.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that announcement. And I don't have anything else. Great teaching, and I hope that you will begin implementing these agreements. And remember, for our next session next week, on Thursday, if we need to change it, we'll let you know. But for right now, we are going to do it on our regular time, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's been great. Once again, Makisha, I could not have done this by myself, so I truly appreciate you every single day.
Yep, I appreciate you too. Even when we talk 2 or 3 times a day, you don't get tired of me. Even when I call you or text you 2 or 3 times a day. So I appreciate that. And you always have a smile on your face and in your voice. So whether I'm seeing you or talking to you, you always answer my call and make me feel welcome. And I appreciate that. And I love working with you. And I enjoy what we are doing together. Excellent. I really enjoy that. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the day, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
And
take care.
It a productive day, everyone. Not just any old day. You don't get up to have a mediocre day. You get up to have a productive, fabulous day. So make your day be everything that it should be.
Excellent, and live without limits.